She broke me, so I destroyed everything she had. 10 years ago, I was on top of the world. I was happily engaged to a woman I had known for nearly a decade. Let's call her Nancy. Though we had only been dating for a year, our connection felt deep and long-lasting. Nancy was the kind of woman who knew what she wanted, and she had always dreamed of the perfect engagement ring. When I finally slid that ring onto her finger, it felt like our future was set in stone. We shared a beautiful home, both had steady jobs, and wedding plans were progressing smoothly. Life was good, or so it seemed. About 2 months before our wedding, we received the most joyous news. We were going to have a baby. The elation I felt was indescribable. With the wedding day just 28 days away, I was walking on air, counting down the days until I would marry the woman I loved and start our family together. But then, everything changed. I came home from work one evening, expecting to find Nancy waiting for me with her usual warmth. But the house was eerily quiet, and Nancy was nowhere to be found. At first, I assumed she was running late at work. I dialed her number to check in, only to be met with a calm, almost detached voice on the other end. Nancy informed me that she was at her grandmother's house, miles away in another state. Without any emotion, she told me she no longer wanted to get married. She wasn't coming home. I was stunned, as if the ground had disappeared beneath me. What on earth had just happened? I tried calling her back, but her phone was off. I reached out to her grandmother's house, but there was no answer. Questions flooded my mind. What about the wedding? What about our baby? What about everything we had built together? But there were no answers, only silence. For 3 agonizing days, I was left in limbo. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. The silence was unbearable, the uncertainty eating away at me. Then, on the 4th day, Nancy returned home. But she wasn't there to talk or to offer explanations. She moved through the house like a ghost, packing her belongings without uttering a single word to me. She left as quickly as she had come, and the only communication I received was an email, cold and final. She couldn't be with me anymore. No reasons, no closure. Desperate for answers, I called Nancy's sister. She claimed to know nothing, but gave me their mother's phone number, a number I was surprised to receive, given that Nancy had always insisted her mother was out of the picture due to a history of substance abuse. With nothing left to lose, I dialed the number. When Nancy's mother picked up, she wasted no time in telling me that I was not the first man to be caught in this web. In fact, I was lucky number 3. Nancy had a pattern, her mother explained. She would string men along, get what she could from them, and then disappear when it was convenient. She had even been pregnant twice before, only to suffer miscarriages and vanish soon after. Each time, she ran off to her grandmother's house, playing the victim, claiming abuse, and waiting until the dust settled before repeating the cycle. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. The woman I thought I knew, the future I had envisioned, it all came crashing down around me. Weeks passed with no word from Nancy, no explanation, just a void where my life used to be. After Nancy left me in ruins, my life spiraled into chaos. I lost 20 pounds from stress and found myself in counseling at work due to plummeting performance. My family, furious over lost money from canceled travel plans for the wedding, added to my misery. Mortified, I faced the reality of losing all deposits for the wedding, just weeks before it was set to happen. I was left penniless, staring at a joint bank account in the red by $2,000. Unable to pay the mortgage, I felt the weight of failure crushing me. At first, sadness consumed me. But soon, sadness turned to seething rage. The anger inside me was so intense that I had to consciously restrain myself, fearing I might do something that would land me in prison. Then, a month and a half after Nancy vanished, a text message shattered whatever semblance of peace I had begun to rebuild. "I had a miscarriage," she accused. "You stressed me out too much and my daughter is dead now." A daughter? I was supposed to have a daughter. The accusation was too much to bear. How could she blame me for this tragedy? That was the moment I decided to take action. No more wallowing in despair. It was time to make Nancy pay for what she had done to me. Fueled by alcohol and rage, I began clearing out the reminders of her presence in my life. Most of her belongings still cluttered my home, but I couldn't afford to keep it. As I packed, I stumbled upon her resume and her personal checkbook. Her resume was a pack of lies, just like everything else. I felt a surge of satisfaction as I sat down at the computer, creating a new Yahoo email address. With meticulous detail, I composed a lengthy email to her corporate office, exposing every falsehood on her resume. But that wasn't enough. Operation Checkbook was next. With a vindictive thrill, I forged her signature on every check, ripping them out of the book one by one. I drove 30 minutes to the seediest part of town and dumped them on a sidewalk outside an AM/PM. It felt like justice, even if it was just a small measure. Back home, I purged my house of everything that reminded me of her. I threw out her belongings with a mix of anger and relief, keeping only her laptop. 2 weeks passed in bitter silence until Nancy finally called. I ignored her call, but her voicemail revealed that she had been laid off due to supposed cutbacks. I knew it was another lie, and I relished in the knowledge that her life was unraveling. 2.2 more weeks passed, and letters from a district attorney's office began to arrive. It was about bad check restitution. Nancy's checks that I had forged were catching up with her. I couldn't help but smirk at the poetic justice unfolding. As if that wasn't enough, I shredded her car's registration renewal notice for good measure. I was teetering on the edge of madness, but I wasn't done yet. Fueled by the anger and the bitterness of what Nancy had done, I decided to take things even further. I walked into the post office, filled out a change of address form for her, and sent her mail to a homeless shelter. A fitting destination, I thought. Through the grapevine, I heard that since Nancy had lost her job, she was now crashing with friends, financially propped up by her ever-so-pious, super Christian grandma. I couldn't let that slide. Nancy's laptop was still in my possession, so I created another Yahoo email account, almost identical to Nancy's real one. With sinister satisfaction, I sent her grandmother a video I had saved of Nancy. In a compromising position, to say the least. I titled the email, "Hey Grandma, check out this video I took at my job. I hope I uploaded it right." I hit send, feeling a rush of vindictive glee. It didn't take long for the reply to come through. "You are disgusting. I hope your new job pays well because I'm not supporting you if you act like that." Bingo, a 2-for-1. Not only had I humiliated Nancy, but I had also cut off her financial lifeline. The satisfaction was intoxicating. Weeks went by, and one day I got a call from Rent-A-Center. I had no idea Nancy's furniture was rent to own, but apparently she had fallen behind on payments. They wanted the furniture back. I told them I didn't have it and didn't know where it was. That night, I dragged all of it into the yard and burned it to ashes. $4,200 owed, gone up in flames. Another win for me. Just when I thought the saga was reaching its end, I learned that Nancy had gotten a new job. I was already plotting my next move when even better news came my way. Nancy had been arrested for embezzlement. It seemed her money troubles had driven her to steal $5,000 from petty cash, and she got caught. I couldn't believe my luck. It felt like the universe was on my side for once. Months went by without any updates. Then, a friend told me that Nancy's grandmother had bailed her out after only a few days in jail. She took a plea deal, felony conviction, 3 years of probation, and restitution. Wrecked. I hung my hat on that victory. I had gotten my revenge, and it was time to move on. But fate wasn't quite finished with Nancy. A couple of months later, I got a call from a repo company looking for Nancy's whereabouts. They wanted to repossess her car. I couldn't resist one final act of retribution. I made a few calls, tracked down the address where she was staying, and passed it along to the repo company. They offered me a $100 reward if they got the car back. I declined. This one was on me. Nancy was now a felon, jobless, and a single mom to a child she had with some random guy. She lived in a cramped apartment with her brother and his girlfriend, her life in shambles. Meanwhile, I was living a life I never thought I'd have, a beautiful wife, a precious daughter, and a sense of peace that had eluded me for years. Then, out of the blue, I got a Facebook message from Nancy. "Congrats on the marriage and daughter. I'm glad you're happy." The nerve. I didn't hesitate with my reply, "Go fuck yourself." She blocked me immediately, but it didn't matter. Life was good. Sometimes, taking the low road is the only path to healing.